You're listening to a special interview segment for the official podcast for WrestlingNewsSource.com.
Okay, folks, joining us on the show this week, a member of the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2004, former WWE Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion. His autobiography, Tales from the Ring, is available wherever books are sold. The one and only Tito Santana. Mr. Santana, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's an honor to have you on. We certainly appreciate you coming on, and you will be appearing at the Clutch City Productions Super Show at the Pasadena Convention Center at 7902 Fairmont Parkway on August 31st. Also scheduled to appear will be Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, recently announced TNA superstar Hernandez, as well as former WWE diva Miss Jackie. For more information on that, go to clutchcityproductions.com. And Mr. Santana, what are your thoughts on going to events like this, having fans, still recognize you, come up and want to talk to you about their favorite moments during your career?
Well, I'm really looking forward to this one. It's been a long time since I've been to Houston. I came to WrestleMania 25 as a guest of the WWE, but I didn't get out to meet any of the fans. So this is a very special occasion for me, especially because my family lives just 50 miles south of Houston, and I'm going to be coming a couple of days early and getting to spend some time with my family.
Oh, very nice. Is it always nice, talking to the fans about, like their favorite moments and some of your favorite moments during your career?
Well, that's the reason that I'm still, making appearances, because the fans made all the wrestlers, I owe everything to the fans, and whenever I have a chance to meet a fan face to face, they always come up with stories that I have completely forgot about. That they bring back old memories, and it's just so nice to see how what you meant to the fans. They're always thanking me for what I did. For the sport and what I did for them, for entertaining them for many, many years, and that never gets old.
It's one of those things where you meet people who say they grew up watching you and how much of an influence you had on their life, and now you're doing that outside the ring by being a teacher. How's the experience been? Well,
I always talk about. To me, being a teacher is giving back. It was my 8th grade gym coach, Coach Luis Sanchez in Mission, Texas, that, to me, I owe everything. He got me into sports. I could have gone the wrong way and ended up, having a completely different life. He got me into sports. I ended up getting a football scholarship, and one thing led to another, and, I went from being a migrant worker to having quite a bit of success in life, and I'm really grateful. And as a teacher, I just hope that I have made a difference, and I know I have made a difference on quite a few students already. So it's very rewarding to me.
That's cool.
Well, that's very good stuff. And us being from Texas as well as you, it's really good to hear someone being successful, because you hear too many negatives out there in the world, and it's good to see that you're being a positive influence, a positive role model for the kids. And your introduction into wrestling, it's been well documented by being introduced to it by Tully Blanchard as well as a few others. But you say you were going there, you were in college under a football scholarship. What were you studying? What were you trying to become? If you had declined becoming a wrestler, what would you have wanted to be?
Well, it was the 8th grade coach, and being a football player, I just felt that I was going to be a coach, and I was going to, aim at doing the same thing that he did for me. I mean, he didn't give up on me, and I didn't. At first, I turned him down when he tried to get me into football, and then he tried it again, and the next time he convinced me, and I started playing football when I was a freshman in high school, and we were ranked second in the state, and my sophomore year, and I was the only sophomore that made the varsity, and he must have seen something in me that I didn't see, and I'm forever grateful. And my hopes were to do the same thing for somebody else in the future.
That's very cool. But you did choose the path of wrestling for a few years. Well, I say a few years, but quite a long career, you could say. In your career, did have a great feud with Greg the Hammer Valentine that lasted well over a year. What are your thoughts on like some of the major companies like WWE that don't really drag out feuds anymore? They feel rushed nowadays. Just because I think like the attention span of the audience has shortened. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I just think the fan is missing out on so much. Greg the Hammer Valentine and myself. I mean, we did have a great feud, and the ultimate settlement of the feud was the cage match, and we had lumberjack matches. We had time limit matches in Madison Square Garden. We had tape fist matches, and and the fans all over the world were accustomed to long feuds, and great feuds. I'm not going to say that my feud was the best ever, but it was the longest feud in the history of the WWF. And I think the fans really used to get right into the storylines and look forward to see how the feud was going to be settled. And I just think they don't have those opportunities anymore.
And speaking of opportunities like that, growing into your career, leading into the mid '90s, you were considered one of the greats in the Intercontinental Championship division. It was considered one of those prestigious honors to earn. And with the way things are going now, it seems like the WWE seems to underutilize it, and it just kind of transitions from person to person and not really building any feuds around it. Do you feel like that kind of lessens the title and the meaning of being an Intercontinental Champion?
Yeah, from what I understand, none of the belts really have that much value anymore. The world title was a world title. The wrestlers wrestled competitors from all over the world, and now, for example, the world title in the WWE is you're just competing against wrestlers in the WWE. So what's the world now? Intercontinental Champion at some point, back then was almost as popular as the world title. So I just don't, and the World Tag Team matches, the titles, the tag team titles. People used to love those, tag team feuds, and all of that is in the past. But it's a different time. Vince has changed, professional wrestling forever. Now it's a TV show. It used to be a wrestling show.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of tag teams, you were part of the popular tag team Strike Force for a while with Rick Martel. What were your first thoughts when you were told you were going to be working in the tag division as opposed to singles competition?
Well, I enjoyed being a single wrestler. I thought I was best when I was competing one-on-one, but Rick Martel was such a great wrestler that when the opportunity was there, I really looked forward to it because I knew that I could carry the load, he could carry the load, and I was responsible and he was responsible, and I knew it was a no-miss situation.
Do you feel that kind of plays into like today's generation of tag teams where they're kind of, some of them are brought in, but they're kind of just thrown together?
Yeah, I mean, the tech teams here, haven't had a chance to develop a relationship with each other. Like you said, they just throw them together, and all of a sudden they make up a tag team, and it takes a while to work in sync in the tag team match.
What was it like working during the transition period for the WWE to go from territory to a single company?
Well, I was there right from the beginning. I was in the first 9 WrestleManias, and all of a sudden we went from wrestling in high school gymnasiums to and being on the car, driving all over the place, to flying all over the world. All of a sudden we're performing in the Middle East, we're performing in Asia, we're performing all Europe, and nothing but big arenas. And everywhere we went, people recognized us, and all of a sudden, we were superstars, and it was a. It was a different era. It was, it was pretty cool.
Very nice. You did mention, your WrestleMania career. You were in the very first match at WrestleMania, and it's kind of been documented. You originally didn't want to be the opener, but upon looking back, are you kind of glad you were? So that you can always say that you were the first. Without WrestleMania or without that opening match to get the crowd into it, who knows where WrestleMania would have been.
Yeah, looking back, and the responsibility that Vince gave me to set the tempo for the night, gave the opening match in WrestleMania 1 more of an importance, and I realized the importance the longer I'm around. The more I realize it.
Very nice. Did you have a favorite moment of your career, or anything that you look back and think, man, that was that was something I'm just going to remember forever?
Well, probably my favorite moment was, before I got to New York, my biggest accomplishment was when I wrestled right there in Houston in a championship match against Nick Bockwinkel, and I had an hour draw against Nick Bockwinkel. And I received Wrestler of the Year, and it was really nice. Paul Bosch was a great promoter, and Houston to me was what catapulted me to worldwide recognition. And then the next big thing was stepping into Madison Square Garden. In front of 24,000 people. It was just unbelievable.
Very nice. Do you feel like the territories, were sort of crucial to wrestling, but because nowadays they kind of just say, oh, well, this guy looks good, so we'll train him to come into a wrestler. Whereas, people who worked in the territories, that, sort of honed their craft, went from town to town saying, all right, I can work this matchup. And then eventually it built up to, a pretty good career. Do you feel like the territories helped a lot more than what the guys are going through today?
Yeah, definitely. That's why they're liking, the guys that are coming into Vince. They have experience. Vince has a school. They have experience. In working out. In front of a small crowd, and but they don't have the experience of being involved in some serious angles and learning and working with better wrestlers than yourself. Like when I first got started, about the first 3 years, pretty much every night that I wrestled, we wrestled every night. Mm-hmm. We went up against better wrestlers, and every time you wrestle against somebody that's better than you, you're going to learn. And these guys don't have the opportunity to learn from somebody that's better. When you wrestle with somebody that's equal to you or less, it's impossible to learn anything. You need to be taught with experiences in the ring by guys who know it better than you do, and that's how we learn. We learn psychology, but from what I understand, psychology is not that important anymore. We used to do our own interviews. We used to just pop them out of our head, and now they give you a script. So it's a completely different ballgame now.
I couldn't agree more. Do you feel like now, the wrestlers nowadays, they sort of have their own move sets. Like this is my finisher, this is my comeback, and this is what I'm going to do. So you can't do that. Whereas, you would utilize the figure four as well as Greg the Hammer Valentine. Whereas now most people recognize it as Ric Flair's. Do you, what are your thoughts on like the move sets? Saying, okay, I'm only going to work this style of wrestling.
Well, I think, like, we're considered the legends, and the legends. I mean, there were so many different styles, and now if you watch a wrestling show, pretty much everybody has the same style. You know, they do things, you know, no rhyme or reason in the ring. You know, everything we did meant something, and now, you know, people are doing just things just to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, you'll never be able to compare the worker in our era than the worker that there's now. I mean, there are a few good workers. I mean, Randy Orton, you know, comes almost from old school. You know, I've seen some of his matches, and you know, he's got psychology, you know, but his dad, you know, he learned from his dad, and, you know, there's quite a few, there's very few wrestlers, you know, that were able to learn, you know, and have any idea of ring psychology. I mean, from what I understand, it's not important in the ring anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you could go back to, you know, the quote-unquote old school wrestling tapes or DVDs now, and, you know, the fans would get pumped over a clothesline, whereas now today, you know, you have to hit 3 finishers and bash them with a chair in order to get the crowd excited.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's just
different ball game.
Very. Do you feel that with the reality shows and social media sites like Facebook and Twitter that sort of pull back the curtain now, show they show the real person playing the character seen on TV? Do you feel like kayfabe is, you know, pretty much dead?
Yeah, well, you know, I think Vince pretty much exposed, you know, the business in the first place. You know, when he came out and said that it was entertainment. Mm-hmm. You know, took the wrestling part away from it. You know, and you know, now it's entertainment all the way. And I mean, how can you knock what he's doing? I mean, he's making a ton of money and he's drawing a big crowds. You know. He just moved on with time. Yeah,
it's just kind of tough seeing it because, like, you know, we grew up watching this stuff, and, you know, it's always been called wrestling, and the people in the stands have always been called fans, not you know, universe or sports entertainment. So it's, you know, it's hard to try and adapt to that.
Well, I think, you know, the WWE is fighting. You know, from what I understand, the ratings are down, and
mm-hmm.
You know, it's not. You know, a lot of times they make it appear like there's more people than there really is, and from what I understand, they're having a hard time drawing. You know, the big crowds. So, you know, it'll never be like it used to be. You know. And every time you speak to a wrestling fan, the wrestling fan will always tell you, you know, wrestling was better when, you know, you guys were doing it in the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel that it was, you know, but who am I to say?
Yeah, and, you know, it's been said by many people, you know, wrestling fans are one of the most dedicated group, but, you know, I think with you know, digital cable and satellite cable offering you know, 500 channels, it really thins it out. And with, you know, people trying to make things more real, you know, like UFC obviously being, you know, a main factor of that, you know, it kind of drives some of the older audience towards that because they want to see more real and less sort of fantasy.
Right.
But
well, you know, back then, I mean, I believe that the wrestlers abuse their bodies now more than we did.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, you know, I think pretty much every wrestler in the ring knew how to handle himself and you know, knew how to wrestle. And I do believe that there was more wrestling fans that thought that wrestling was real back then than it is now.
Definitely. You know, going sort of into your, you know, private life, I guess, during your Hall of Fame induction, Shawn Michaels stated, you know, that many of the guys in the back wanted what they called the Tito thing, meaning they wanted a lengthy wrestling career, you know, a loving wife to come home to, and a few kids. You know, what are your thoughts on having obtained that lifestyle that so many wrestlers would want? And what advice would you give to any wrestlers who happen to be listening to us that are, you know, fresh into the business and hope that they can have the same thing?
Well, I mean, my biggest advice is if you have a wife and kids, you can't go out on the road and live like you don't have a wife and you don't have a kid and you don't have kids. You got to respect what you have at home, and you earn respect from the wrestlers. I've never been one that went around preaching, and I just like to lead by example.
Yeah.
Very nice. And you are being a great role model and teaching the children. Are there any like wrestlers that you tend to work with, or anyone that you sort of favor and might offer advice if they were to come up to you?
When I still do small independent shows, and if somebody comes and talks to me, asks me to watch their matches and ask questions, I'm willing to help them out and to watch their match and to critique their matches. But a lot of these young guys, they don't have a clue what they don't know, but they think they know it all. And if they don't ask me for advice, I'm not gonna. If I see them doing something wrong, I'm not going to go walk up and criticize them because they don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming on. Once again, you'll be over at Clutch City Productions Super Show, taking place Labor Day weekend out at the Pasadena Convention Center in Pasadena, Texas, 7902 Fairmont Parkway. All the wrestlers are going to be there Saturday, August 31st between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. You yourself will be out there. And for all things Tito Santana, go to titosantana.net. Are there any other websites or social media that you have where fans can reach out to you?
Well, Santana's Hair Salon here, we have a website also in Roxbury, New Jersey. But no, TitoSantana.net is probably the only one that I have. I'm not on Facebook. I don't tweet. So, just the only way to reach me is, TitoSantana.net, I guess.
Very nice, awesome.
Thank you.
And we certainly do appreciate it. We're going to try and go up there to the Clutch City so that we can see you. And it's an absolute honor to have you on. We certainly do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm really looking forward to coming down there for a lot of different reasons. I know I have a lot of fans there in Houston, and I'm looking forward to talking to quite a few of them, and getting together with my family in Lake Jackson.
It'll be very nice. All right. Well, safe travels and take care, and we hope to see you out there.
Okay. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
All right. Have a good night.
Arriba!